Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about something really important, turning Indigenous awareness from just a nice idea into a real, solid business strategy. We're drawing on some fantastic material from Bear Standing Tall to show you why, for any business in Ontario, this isn't just about social responsibility anymore. It's actually a strategic must-do.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at why this makes sense for your business. Then, we'll get into some of the essential history. After that, we'll introduce a big idea called economic reconciliation. And finally, we'll wrap up with some real, practical things you can start doing right away.
So, let's kick things off with the big question. Why? Because honestly, in today's world, this isn't just about feeling good or doing the right thing. It's about being smart in business. It's fundamental.
Okay, let's really get into the nuts and bolts of the business case here. First off, embracing Indigenous awareness, it can have a direct impact on your bottom line. Think about it. It boosts your reputation. Consumers today really care about corporate responsibility. It also helps you navigate all those complex legal rules around Indigenous lands and treaties, which is super important. And beyond that, it can open up whole new markets and partnership opportunities, not to mention helping you attract and keep amazing people who want to work for a company that truly values equity.
All right, but to do any of this responsibly, we really need to understand the backstory. And look, this isn't just some boring history lesson. This is the foundation, the context you need to have for any of your actions to be truly meaningful. So, let's dig into some of that key history.
You can almost see a story unfold on this timeline. It starts with these early relationships, think trade, alliances. But then there's a major shift. We see a move toward policies that were all about assimilation, things like the Indian Act, the residential school system, the 60s scoop. Their impact wasn't just in the past, and created this deep, intergenerational trauma that Indigenous communities are still dealing with right now, today.
And this is so important to get right. The term Indigenous isn't just one big label for one group of people. It's not a monolith. In Canada, it actually refers to three very distinct groups: First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. Each one has its own unique cultures, languages, traditions, and histories. Just lumping them all together means you miss the incredible diversity that's really there.
This next point is a really key shift in thinking for any organization. On one hand, you have cultural competency. That's about knowing things, right? Learning facts. It's a good start. But where we really want to get to is cultural safety. And that's totally different. That's about creating an environment where an Indigenous person, whether they're an employee, a partner, a customer, feels genuinely safe and respected. See the difference? It's not about what you know. It's about how they experience the space you've created.
Okay, so with that background in mind, let's talk about a really powerful way to take action. This is where businesses like yours can play a huge, direct role. It's called economic reconciliation. So what does that actually mean? Well, to put it simply, it's about actively working to fix the economic imbalances that were created by colonization. It means making sure Indigenous peoples have fair and equal access to things like opportunities, funding, and resources. And when you foster Indigenous prosperity, guess what? It doesn't just benefit Indigenous communities, it makes the whole Canadian economy stronger.
And listen, this isn't just some nice-to-have idea. It's an official, specific call to action. Number 92 from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission directly calls out the business community and says, hey, we need you. It's asking corporations to step up and be real, essential partners on this path to reconciliation.
Okay, so we've got the why and we've got the what. But now for the big question, how do you actually start? How does your business begin this journey? Let's get super practical and talk about some of the protocols for engaging in a respectful way.
Following the right protocols, that is just a fundamental sign of respect. Let's take an example. Say you're hosting an event and you'd like to ask for a blessing or a traditional opening. There are steps to follow. And doing things like asking way in advance and offering an honorarium, well, it's not just about being polite. It sends a clear message that you value that person's time and their knowledge, and that you get the importance of reciprocity.
And when it comes to engaging with elders and knowledge keepers, you've got to remember it's a privilege, not a right. This isn't your average business meeting. The most important things you can do are to listen, way more than you speak, show respect, maybe with a gift like tobacco, and always make sure there's reciprocity. Their knowledge is priceless, and it should never, ever be treated like some free commodity that you can just take.
So, we've walked through the business case, we've covered some crucial history, and we've talked about protocols. Now, what's next? Let's talk about how your organization can take all this awareness and turn it into real, concrete action.
The first step, and honestly the most important one, is education. What we've talked about here is just scratching the surface. To really get this knowledge deep into the DNA of your organization, you should think about bringing in some expert help. A great way to do that is to partner with or license the full learning materials from Bear Standing Tall. All you have to do is reach out to the email you see right here.
So, we're going to leave you with a question to think about. Reconciliation, it's not about one big grand gesture. It's actually the sum of a ton of small, deliberate actions. It could be as simple as starting a conversation in your office this week, or maybe researching local Indigenous-owned businesses you could add to your supply chain. It could even be learning how to do a proper land acknowledgement. Real, meaningful change always starts with one step. So what's yours going to be?